Hello, in this video I'm going to try to play Age of Fantasy Regiments by one-page rules. Okay, let's go. The first thing you're going to need to play the game is a nice flat surface. The game recommends a 6 foot by 4 foot playing area, but for this demonstration a 4 foot by 4 foot area will suffice. The next thing you'll need is a copy of the rules. I have here the full rule book, but for this demonstration I'll be using just the basic rules which are available free online. I'll put a link in the description below to those 3 rules. You'll also need a tape measure that measures in inches. Next thing you'll need is some D6s, so called because they number from 1 to 6 on their 6 sides. You may have a collection of these at home already, if not you can get some from any gaming store. Another useful thing is to have tokens. I have wound tokens here, I have activation tokens, objective tokens and wavering tokens. These are handy for remembering what's what in the game. Another component to have in the game is terrain. The game recommends from 5 to 10 pieces, but for this demonstration 5 should be enough because it is a reduced size game. After that we'll need 2 forces that are going to compete. Here we have the humans that I'll be using for this demonstration. I've also printed off their rules. These are handy to have in the game so you can always refer to them to see what is what. Okay, just want to look at the humans there. And here we have the Eternal Wardens who will be facing off against the human list that you've seen previously. Both these lists are 400 points. This is below the recommended 750 points, but for demonstration purposes this should be enough. Units will also have a stat line. In this game we use 2 stats. We use the quality and we use the defense. The quality is a measure of how good they are at shooting, how good they are at combat, and how good they are at morale. Defense is how resilient they are. They also list what equipment they have. So in this case of the Hunter Squad, they have a quality of 3+, a defense of 4+, bolt pistols, and hand weapons. They also have 3 special rules: Scout, Stealth, and Tough 3. When you choose a unit, they'll come in either 5 models, 3 models, 10 models, or 1 model. If you buy a unit, you can double them up if they'll have the same equipment. So in this case, this human infantryman unit of 10 models has been doubled up to 20 models. So that is now a full unit. So we could have these 5 could become 10, and these 3 could become 6. Because this is a hero model, it cannot be doubled up, but it can join units. In Age of Fantasy Regiments, units have a front, 2 flanks, and a rear. Units can only attack out of their frontage. So if a unit is attacked into the side, in melee, they are not able to attack back. This is a great way to outmaneuver a unit to a better position. And of course, if you attack them in their flank or rear, same thing applies, they cannot attack back. The game has alternative activations. When you choose a unit, you have to choose one of the 4 orders available to the unit. Those are hold, where the unit stays still, but it can turn 90 degrees on the spot, and then it may shoot, that's called a pivot. Or it can go 6 inches, or in this case, because it's fast, it can go 9 inches, and it can pivot once up to 90 degrees when it moves, and then it can shoot after it's moved. Or it can rush, which is the unit will move forward either 12 inches, or in this case, because they're fast, 18 inches, but they can pivot 90 degrees once before they move, and they move in a straight line. They can then not shoot after that. Or they charge, which is the unit moves a 90 degree turn and then moves into contact with the enemy units if that unit is within 12 inches, or in this case again, because they're fast, 18 inches, and then a combat is initiated. So those are the 4 orders: hold, advance, rush, or charge. Objective markers. I use these tokens for objectives. When objectives are placed, players will roll off. The winner places the first objective, and they can go anywhere on the board, not in the deployment zone, and more than 9 inches away from another one. So let's say put one there. Next player will then get an objective marker, and has to go over 9 inches away. So for example, they could place the objective over here, like so. It's worth bearing in mind that the basic mission has D3+2 objective markers placed for the base game. Claim an objective. If a unit moves within 3 inches of an objective, they control that objective. However, they can move off that objective in later turns and still control that objective as long as an enemy unit does not move within 3 inches of that objective. So in this case, the Eternal Wardens have seized that objective. If an objective has one of your units and an opponent's unit within 3 inches of objective, that objective is neutral and not controlled by anyone. If a unit is wavering, they can no longer claim an objective. So in this case, the Eternal Wardens would have that objective because this unit is wavering. So here we demonstrate a hold action. This unit of hunters are going to do a hold action. They can pivot on the spot 180 degrees, so they'll do so to turn around completely. They do not move as they do this. After a hold action has been performed, they can shoot if they have any range attacks. In this case, they've got 2 attacks each from their crossbows. So this gives them this result because they need to hit on 3s. We take away the misses, which in this case is this one here. So they've scored 5 hits. So the human player would then get 5 dice and roll that number equal to their defense. So in this case, they've scored 1 because their defense is 5. So these 4 are removed from the unit as casualties. So we take off 4 models, like so. Because this is not enough to bring the unit to below half strength, the unit does not take a morale test. So they are fine. Now the human infantrymen are going to do a charge action. So to perform a charge action, first they can pivot on the spot up to 90 degrees, then they can charge up to the 12 inches in their front arc. So this will bring them into contact, like so. Then you roll a dice equal to the 2 front ranks. So in this case, they've got 1 attack apiece, and it's 10 models, so that gives them 10 attacks, where they managed to roll the above. And their quality is 5+. So we look at the 5s or 6s to hit, which will be these 3 here. So these lot have missed. Now the Defendant Player, the Eternal Wardens, has to roll their armor save. Their defense is 4+. So they would roll this, for example. That means that 2 wounds have been caused on the unit. As they've got tough 3, each model can sustain 3 hits before it is removed as a casualty. So as a reminder, put down 2 wound markings next to the unit. Then they can retaliate. They've got 1 attack apiece, and their quality is 3+. So let's say they managed to roll this. That means they scored 3 hits. So again, the human defend player would have to roll 3 dice, needing their defense of 5+ to save against those hits. So let's say they managed to roll this. They have saved 1 of those and taken 2. So what we do is put 2 models here as a reminder that the human have lost 2 models in combat. So now we work out combat resolution. The humans managed to cause 2 wounds, whereas the Eternal Wardens also caused 2 wounds. However, the human unit has 2 complete ranks. Because there's a model missing from this rank, it's not a complete rank. So that adds another 2 to their unit score, bringing them onto a total of 4. They have won the combat. This represents the crush and press of the mass of the unit, pushing forward and bolstering their morale. So now the Eternal Wardens have to take a morale test because they've lost combat. Their morale is 3+. So let's say the Eternal Warden player managed to roll this. He has failed. So now what we do is that unit is wavering. So we'd give it a wavering token to show they've wavered. Wavering units cannot hold or contest objectives. When they activate, they must simply remove their wavering token, and that's the full activation. They can pivot up to 90 degrees on the spot, but they cannot do anything else. If a unit is wavering and has to take a morale test again, it fails automatically and is removed from the board as it routes. If the unit is engaged in its flank, it cannot attack. So in this case, the Eternal Warden player would get to roll their attacks, whereas the human player would not get to retaliate. The same is true for rear attacks. The Eternal Warden player can roll their attacks, whereas the human player cannot retaliate. End of combat. If the charge unit did not completely destroy their target, they must bounce back 1 inch. If they did destroy their unit target, for example, they could then either consolidate 3 inches forward, like so, or they can pivot 180 degrees on their center, like so. Even though the human player cannot retaliate, they can still count the number of ranks for their combat resolution. Another activation available to units is a rush action. When a unit performs a rush action, it first pivots on its spot up to 90 degrees, and then it can move up to 12 inches. However, because this unit is fast, it can move up to 18 inches. So for example, it could go like so. Once the unit's performed its rush move, it cannot shoot. Another order available to units is a move order. So this unit here, it can pivot 90 degrees on the spot, like so. Then it can move forward 6 inches, like so. If it had a range attack, it could then shoot with that range attack. Bear in mind, when a unit does this order, it can pivot at any point in the turn. So for example, if this guy was like this, he could move forward, pivot, then continue the rest of his movement up to 6 inches. If the unit has to fight a second round of combat in the same turn, it requires a 6 to hit. So in this case here, if the humans have fought a combat against the wizard, but have not been routed or broken, and then are charged by this Order Lord, they would need a 6 to hit in the combat, as opposed to their normal 5 for their quality. If a unit contains a wizard, the wizard can cast one of their 6 spells at any point during the activation. In this case, this unit instrument are going to charge that wizard over there. So we would do the charge first, the movement, there we are. Then the wizard can cast one of their 6 spells before combat dice are rolled. So in this case, how you do it, you choose one of the 6 spells, look at its casting value, you would roll d6, so in this case a 5, and add your wizard and level. However, if an enemy wizard within 18 inches, they can try to stop that spell. They would do the same, they would roll a d6, in this case a 4, add their wizard and level, and if they've equaled or beaten the roll of the wizard, they've cancelled the spell. If not, the spell goes through. Every race has a selection of 6 spells that are unique to that race, so I will not go over them here. You can look at them on the free army lists. Some terrain is difficult. This means if a unit wishes to move over difficult terrain, it can move no more than 6 inches in that movement. Terrain can also block line of sight. In this case, neither unit can see one another because there's terrain in the way. On each new round, the player that finished activating first on the last round gets to activate first. So in this case, if the human player was the finish activating first, they would get to go first in the next round. So if this was the end of the game, we would see that the human player has scored a victory. The objective on the left is contested because both units are within 3 inches of that objective and neither of them have a wavering marker on them. The unit on the right is within 3 inches of the objective with no enemies nearby, so it controls that objective, bringing the score to 1 to the human player and 0 to the Eternal Wardens. Therefore, the humans have won this game. Okay, this has been a demonstration of how to play Age of Fantasy Regiments by one-page rules. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If so, leave a comment below, and thanks for watching. Take care.